Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining today's webinar, where we will be covering the process of creating your own booking confirmation in Microsoft Word. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Kim and I'm a lead consultant for Elite Dynamics. So in today's session, we will be discovering the options available within EliteParks to create customized documents. Watch as I demonstrate how you can create a booking confirmation. See for yourself how you can then manage multiple report layouts based on variables. And lastly, learn how you can also use this functionality to better manage email communications with customers. We're going to start by looking at a demonstration of this end-to-end process. Please, if anyone has any questions, can you post them in the chat or the questions box within the GoToWebinar? We'll start by looking within EliteParks at the report selections for the EliteParks specific documents. What we can see in here then is the current report ID that's being used for particular documents within EliteParks. So at the moment we're looking at a unit sales agreement, the unit sales agreement that gets printed from a deal, not a completed deal. This is then the report ID that's being used each time you run that report. If I just drop down in my selection here, I can also see some other park-specific documents, such as the booking confirmation, which again, I can see from here, the report ID that's currently being used, which is the standard EliteParks report for a booking confirmation. If we now have a look then at the process that will allow you to create your own Word document and also merge certain fields from the booking table into this document, we will start by navigating to custom report layouts. Within custom report layouts, you would then select this new option, and our report ID should be the same report ID that is currently being used against the booking confirmation. What this report ID does is then give you a list of available fields that can be mapped into your Word document. So if I just drop down on here and select from full list, I can search this by searching the actual name of the report rather than having to know the report ID that's being used, and select our booking confirmation. Once that's been selected, I'm then going to choose to insert this as a Word layout. And I can then see this new layout that has been created, ready for us to start creating our own booking confirmation. Once we have that new custom report layout that has been created, in order to then create that document as a Word file, I would go to my layout options and export the layout. Now, it's important to note at this point that the standard EliteParks booking confirmation is not written in Word format, which means that when we export this layout and we told the system that we want to create this layout as a Word document, this won't give us an exact copy of the current report that's being used. This will actually give us a blank Word document to start producing ourselves, and then use our mapping fields to be able to merge certain bits of information from within EliteParks. So as you can see, what we now have is this blank Word document ready to start working with. If this is the first time that you've looked to create a document of this type, you will need to firstly change some of your settings within Word to make the mapping fields available to you within the document. To do this, you need to go to File, Options, Customised ribbon. You should then see an option for this developer tab to be added to your ribbon. And now that that's been added, if I select it, we can see an XML mapping pane. This XML mapping pane is then needed to give you all of the available fields to map from within EliteParks. So once I've selected my XML mapping pane, I then need to select the actual booking confirmation report from my drop-down options. And you can now see all available fields to map from within EliteParks relating to the actual booking itself and also any booking extras. So now we're ready to start building on the detail within this booking confirmation. If we start at the top of the Word document, then I want to add the park logo. So looking at this XML mapping pane, I can see here the park logo is available to map into my Word document. The way in which you do this then is to select the field, right-click, insert content control, and in this situation we know that the park logo will be a picture, so we will insert this as a picture. Once I've inserted that into my Word document, I can use standard formatting within Word to move this around the document to exactly where I want that logo to be visible. If we then move down to our booking confirmation information, I'm now going to start merging actual details from the booking itself. So I'm firstly going to start with the booking number. So again, if I go back over to my XML mapping pane and I right-click on number, insert content control, and this time I'm going to use plain text. What you can now see is this mapped field that, when used within EliteParks, will pull that information based on the specific booking that you're looking at. And we can now just work through the booking confirmation, adding any details that you would like to map in from the booking itself. So I'm going to start by adding the address of the holiday maker that has booked. Now that we've started to really build up the booking confirmation and the fields available in here, I now want to look at adding the booking extras. Now, looking at this XML mapping pane, the booking extras actually sit in their own section. So if we start by adding these extras, so I want my extra description, I want to set my quantity of extras, and I also want to set my extra price. So when it comes to something like booking extras, we know that actually there could be multiple extras that have been added to a booking, and at the point of creating this confirmation, we don't know how many extras we need to show per booking. So in order to configure the document in a way that allows the system to pick up every extra that has been added to the booking, I can highlight this line to include each of those mapped fields. Once highlighted, if we then go down to this booking extra section and I actually highlight booking extra as a whole, right click and insert content control, this time I'm selecting this repeating option. And what this does is tell the Word document These are repeating fields that may be used several times based on the number of extras that have been added against the booking. Once that booking confirmation has been completed then, the next step will be to go back into EliteParks, back to our custom report layout, and I'm now going to import the layout that we have just designed in Word. So I have my booking confirmation highlighted, and I will go to Layout, Import Layout, and select my completed booking confirmation. Once that has been imported, I can do a test of this to see how this would work if we did use this against a booking confirmation. So we can do this under the process option and run report. And I'm going to send this to a Word document so we can see exactly how this will run. And you can see from this then, here is our park logo that was mapped into the document, and all of our booking information that has been mapped into the document as well. Now that we've imported that booking confirmation then, in order for us to use that going forward, the last step in this process would be to go back into Report Selection, EliteParks, and where we have our booking confirmation report already configured to use the standard EliteParks report, I will now select to use a custom layout instead. And when I select layout, I will be able to see this revised layout that I've just imported into the system. Once we've selected that custom layout to be used for the booking confirmation then, we have similar options to be able to create a Word document that can be used for an email body, which would be used in any situation where you were choosing to send the document from within EliteParks and chose the send via email option rather than printing. So if I just tick this to say, yes, I would like to use this for my email body, then in my email layout options, I can select email layout. This will give me that same list of custom layouts. This time, I have an email body that has been created as well. So I've now fully customized the email that will be sent to the customer and also the booking confirmation report itself. Some other options that you then have in here allow you to define what the email subject should be and also what the email attachment name should be. So I'm going to set my email subject as your holiday booking, and I want this to show the actual booking number within the email subject. In order for me to do this, if I use %1, %1 relates to field number 1 in the booking table, which is booking number. Likewise then, with the email attachment name, I want to call this the booking confirmation, and again, I want this to include the booking number, so I'm going to set %1 at the end of the email attachment name as well. Once that's done, we're then ready to start sending out the booking confirmations, both as a printable version and an email version from within EliteParks, using something that is completely defined by yourselves rather than just the standard EliteParks report. And we can now look at the actual booking itself to see how that booking confirmation and the email body will send from within a booking. So we can see here now that we have an email body that has been created and configured against the setup of the report. This is also pulling through mapped fields from the booking itself. So the information on here is specific to this booking. And again, we've included the logo. And likewise, we have our booking confirmation that is attached that again is in that configured document that we have done as a custom report layout. Lastly then, I want to go through the additional option that you have of being able to set certain variables within the EliteParks report selection to say, based on maybe two different situations, we would like to send two different report layouts to the customer. So if we go back into EliteParks report selections, the first booking confirmation that we can see here is the revised layout that we've just worked on. The second booking confirmation that we can now see is a completely different custom layout document. Now, I've created this document to be exactly the same as the first, to hold the same information. However, in this situation, there is also a watermark on the document to say that this is pending initial deposit from the customer. So, in order for me to then complete the configuration to ensure that the system knows, based on certain variables, which of these two documents should be sent, we have these conditions options at the end of our report selections. So if I firstly select our filter details for our revised layout, I can then add a filter in here to say, I want this report to be used where confirmed is equal to yes on a booking. Then for my second condition, I'm going to say when confirmed is equal to no, because I know that the way this system is configured, the booking won't be confirmed until the initial deposit has been taken. Now that we've got those conditions set, this will automatically be filtered for the user based on the status of which that booking is in. And if we just then have a look at this awaiting confirmation report that I've created, just to show an example of the difference between the two, I'm going to select a booking that I know is a non-confirmed booking. And this time the system is now using a different layout that is my pending deposit payment layout. So this is just an example of how you can use these conditions against the report selections. In this situation, I've filtered it based on the booking being confirmed or not being confirmed. However, this could be used for many different variables. It could be that different report layout per park maybe, and you would then use the park code as a condition against the report selection. All of these options that we've looked at with the booking confirmation are also available with other reports used within the park management side of the system and the more specific EliteParks reports, which can be found using this drop down within report selection EliteParks. Hopefully everyone was able to hear that clearly enough then, and that should have given you a good insight into the ways in which you can manage these documents yourself within EliteParks. And as I said at the end of that demonstration, as much as we are using the booking confirmation as an example today, actually that same process can be used for various documents within EliteParks if you want to amend the current standard EliteParks document and actually use your own version of that document instead. As I said then, if anyone does have questions, if you can post them in the chat or in the questions section of the webinar, and I hopefully will be able to answer as many of those questions as possible.
Thanks, Kim. Thanks everyone for joining us. We've just got a few questions. I'm not sure we're going to be able to get through them all, to be honest. So any that we can't get through, I'll catch up with you, Kim, and we'll follow up after this presentation. And the first one is, Can we decide which fields are used to map from EliteParks?
No. So when you pull the report ID from within EliteParks, the XML mapping pane and all of the fields that are available within that report are pre-configured. If anything additional needed to be added or you wanted additional fields to be shown in there, we would have to manage it as a change request, and it would need developer input to be able to add those fields.
Thanks, Kim. The next question, are we able to add pictures to the booking confirmation as well as the logo?
Yes. So in the demonstration that I did, apologies, but I am definitely not the best person at designing a document like this. We do have customers that do this themselves at the moment, and I think using the email body as an example, we've got some customers that will put pictures onto the actual body of the email so that it looks a bit prettier when that gets sent across to the customers. So yes, as much as what we've looked at as an example just includes being able to map the fields and the logo from within EliteParks. As I said, you're working with a Word document, so any options available within Microsoft Word are of course available for you to use and add into that document yourselves.
And I think it's the same person asking, is it possible for us to get a list of the merge fields available to use for the email subject?
So again, the example that I used in the demonstration is using %1. %1 is the only option that is available to use. This will always relate to the default #1 record within that table. So we use the example of a booking confirmation, %1 relates to the booking number. Likewise, if this was something like the unit sales agreement, for example, %1 will be the deal number. That's the only option that would be available.
Fantastic. Just a question about is it possible, does the same process apply to creating a cancellation confirmation?
Yes. So in the way in which I used being a confirmed or a non-confirmed booking in that example, you could do exactly the same with a cancelled booking confirmation and set a condition against that to say always use this version of the booking confirmation in a situation where cancelled is equal to yes. So as much as I use the example of a confirmed booking, you could do the same thing for cancelled bookings.
Fantastic, Kim. There's a few questions around that, so I think we'll follow up after this call about that. A few people saying it's possible for us to get a copy of the recording. Yes, we will follow up with a copy of the recording within the next day or so, and that will be sent out not just to those that have joined us today, but those that haven't been able to, for you to use and replay as and when required. If you do have any specific questions, pop them in the questions box, and we will follow up. That's it, I think, for now, Kim.
Yeah, I think you've just jumped in and said what I was going to say as well. If there are any other questions around it, or if you want more information, or even if you want to arrange a session where we can go through the process with you, if you can contact your account manager at Elite Dynamics, we can arrange for that to happen. And thank you very much, everyone, for joining.